I want you to picture something. You're standing in a coffee shop parking lot on a Thursday afternoon. You stop to grab something on your way home from work. Nothing special. Just a regular Thursday. And then you see his car, parked 2 spots away from yours. You almost wave, almost smile, and then you see her getting into the passenger seat. Sarah, your best friend of 9 years. Your maid of honor. The woman who held your hand in the hospital waiting room when your dad had his surgery. You freeze. You tell yourself it's nothing. Maybe they ran into each other. Maybe they're carpooling somewhere. And then he leans over and kisses her. Music shift, lower, darker. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't tap on the window. I walked back to my car. I sat down. I put both hands on the steering wheel. And I made myself one promise. I was not going to let them see me fall apart. This is the story of the 5 weeks that followed. And why staying quiet was the most powerful thing I ever did. My husband Daniel and I had been married for 6 years. We met through mutual friends at 27. He was charming, driven, and made me feel like the most interesting person in any room. We got married after 2 years of dating. We bought a house. We talked about kids, not yet, but someday. From the outside, we looked like the couple people pointed to and said, I want what they have. Sarah had been my best friend since our 2nd year of college. We'd lived together for 3 years after graduation. She was the first person I called when Daniel proposed. She caught my bouquet at the wedding and laughed so hard she snorted. I trusted her more than almost anyone. Looking back, I can see the signs I missed. Daniel coming home distracted. Sarah canceling plans more than usual. The two of them getting quieter when I walked into a room. Small things. Things I explained away because who suspects their husband and their best friend? Nobody does. Until they do. That Thursday in the parking lot changed everything. But not in the way you might expect. Most people, in that moment, feel the ground disappear. I felt something different. I felt strangely, terrifyingly clear. I drove home. Daniel wasn't back yet. I sat at our kitchen table, the one we'd picked out together at a market 2 summers ago, and I thought very carefully about what I was going to do. My first instinct was to confront him the second he walked through the door, to throw everything on the table, to make him see exactly what he had done. But I caught myself, because I realized something. The moment I confronted him, I would lose every advantage I had. He would know I knew. He and Sarah could coordinate. They could get ahead of the paperwork, the finances, the story. I would be reacting, and they would be prepared. I wasn't willing to give them that. So, I did something that felt almost impossible. I started dinner. I set the table. When Daniel came home, I smiled and asked how his day was. He said, fine. Busy. I said, same. And we ate dinner together like nothing had happened. The next morning, I called a family law attorney. Not to file. Just to understand. She walked me through everything, what I was entitled to, how assets would be divided, what documentation would strengthen my position, and what steps I could legally take right now to protect myself. She told me something I wrote down and kept. The women who come out of this okay are not the ones who react first. They're the ones who understand their situation before they move. I understood my situation. Over the next 5 weeks, I quietly got a complete picture of our finances. Joint accounts, investments, the mortgage, everything Daniel had running through our shared accounts. I wasn't hiding anything. I was making sure I wasn't blindsided. I opened a personal account and began moving my own income, money I had earned, into it. My attorney confirmed this was completely within my rights. I kept records, dates, inconsistencies in Daniel's schedule, things that didn't add up, quietly, without drama. And every single evening, I came home and played the role of a woman who had no idea. I want to be honest with you, that was the hardest part. Not the lawyer calls. Not the paperwork. It was sitting across from him at dinner, watching him smile at his phone under the table, and choosing not to react. It hurt in a way I don't have words for. But I held on to one thought. They were planning their timeline. I was building mine. And mine was going to be ready first. I found out, and I won't go into every detail, that it wasn't just an affair. They were planning to actually leave together. Sarah was going to move to a city 3 hours away for a job opportunity. Daniel had already been quietly looking at apartments there. The plan was for him to follow 2 months later, with divorce papers filed in the middle of it. They had a whole story, a whole exit strategy. They just hadn't accounted for the fact that I would find the exit first. On a Sunday morning, 5 weeks after that parking lot, I was ready. I had already packed what I needed the night before. My documents, my personal items, my laptop. Everything important was already in my car. I made coffee. I left a cup for Daniel on the counter. And I left the divorce papers next to it. I didn't wait for him to wake up. I didn't want to see his face when he read them. I didn't need that moment. I had already had all the moments I needed, privately on my own terms. I drove to my sister's house. I texted Sarah one message, not angry, not long. I know. I've known for 5 weeks. Don't contact me. She never replied. Daniel called 4 times that morning. I let it go to voicemail. My attorney handled everything after that. He tried, once, to have a conversation, to explain, to say the words people say in these situations. I told him calmly that I didn't need an explanation. I needed a fair settlement. And that was all we had left to discuss. He seemed shocked that I wasn't crying, that I wasn't screaming. I think he expected me to fall apart. I think they both did. I didn't. The divorce was finalized 8 months later. Because I had taken the time to understand our finances before things got emotional, and because I had documented everything carefully, my attorney said I was one of the most prepared clients she'd worked with. The settlement reflected that. I got the house. We sold it, my choice, and I used my share to put a down payment on something smaller. Mine. Just mine. Sarah and Daniel are still together, as far as I know. I heard through someone we used to know in common that things have been difficult. I wish I could tell you I felt nothing hearing that. But I'm human. What I can tell you is this. I wake up every morning in a space that belongs to me. I make my own choices. I answer to no one. And the version of me who sat frozen in that parking lot, the one who almost fell apart, she made the best decision of her life when she drove home and made dinner instead of making a scene. If you're going through something like this right now, I'm not going to tell you it doesn't hurt. It does. Enormously. But I want you to hear this. Your pain is real, and you are allowed to feel every part of it. But you don't have to perform it for the people who caused it. The most powerful thing I did was refuse to give them the reaction they expected. Stay calm. Get informed. Move carefully. And trust that the version of you who handles this with dignity, that version will thank you later. If this story resonated with you, leave a comment. I read them. And if you want more stories like this, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.